Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Westchester County Food Waste Forum. My name is Vincent Kopicki. I'm the Commissioner of Environmental Facilities for Westchester County. I'd like to make a few brief introductions. Mario Parisi, Assistant Commissioner. We have Tom Higgins and Sean O'Rourke from our DEF office of the Solid Waste Department. Aviva Myers from the County Clerk's office. The County Executive's office. Pete McCart, Sustainability Director. We have Legislator Chomsky and Chris Crane from the BOL. Also with us is Anthony Catalano and Alfonso Lorraine. They are from Woodard and Curran. They are our consultant that is preparing the food waste study. So the county put out a request for proposal for the services of a consultant to evaluate the county's waste stream, namely the food waste stream, to find out what would be the best options for the county going forward and how to deal with the food waste issue. The firm of Woodard and Curran was awarded the study and is currently about 3 months in a 6-month study. I'll let Anthony Catalano explain the scope of work for the project during his presentation. The purpose for tonight's forum is to gather public comment and suggestions for this study. In order to make the best use of this time, we're limiting each speaker to 3 minutes. We also welcome any emails. We have an email address which will be up on the screen and during the presentation where you can send in emails for any of your concerns or comments. We're not going to be responding to the speakers tonight. This will allow as many speakers as possible. Those comments, concerns will be addressed in the final report prepared by Woodard and Curran. If you would like to speak, have not done so, please see Tom out the front desk and he'll sign you up. Let's see, so at this time I'd like to introduce Anthony. He's going to go through a brief presentation and then we're going to turn the mic over to you for any comments.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you everyone for coming out this evening on a Thursday night. I will say it's very impressive, the folks that we've been speaking to over the last few months and when we conducted the preliminary study last year, how impressive it is to see the passion that so many people have about recycling overall, but specifically food waste recycling in the county. So very impressed. We will be brief in terms of what we're presenting here. Really looking forward to listening to comments that you all may have. This is a collaboration with Woodard and Curran and the county, but that includes all of you as well. And very interested in listening to your comments. And as you'll see in one of the slides that we put up, our intent is to look to try to group these comments in some way so they could be addressed as part of the overall report that we're putting together. So just by way of introductions, the Commissioner already introduced myself, Project Manager Alvaro. We also have as a partner with us on this project the Center for Ecotechnology. Some of you that have been active in food waste recycling, you will recognize CET. They're really one of the leaders in, and really in the forefront of developing recycling programs, primarily on the commercial side, but also understanding the residential aspects of it as well. And they're a key part of our team moving forward here. And so, Alvaro, if you could just go to the next slide. In terms of the study scope and goals, we started off with a kickoff meeting with the county, essentially just to confirm the overall scope of work that we're moving forward with, make sure we're all on the same page, understand what the milestone dates are, and really overall just to make sure that we meet or exceed the county's expectations. Waste quantification analysis, I mentioned briefly that we conducted a very preliminary study last year, really more of a desktop study, the intent being to develop information to determine, did it make sense to move on to the next step in the overall planning phase to understand the feasibility of a food waste recycling or multiple food waste recycling facilities within the county. And it was a clear yes, it made sense, and as such, we're moving on to the next step. We've looked at both the commercial and the residential sectors, both in the preliminary study and now as part of this study. We do have estimating tools. I will say the tools that we're using on the commercial side include us reaching out to the commercial sector, many different business types and institutions, some of which are owned by the county, collecting that information and inputting it into the estimating tool, which, by the way, is a tool that's been adopted by the New York State DEC, the Department of Environmental Conservation, a tool that's been developed in collaboration with CET. And on the residential side, we also are moving forward with estimating tools that are out there, combined with collecting up-to-date information that the county has on residential waste generation within the county. Those tools have been in the past developed by the EPA and the NRDC. Ranking matrices, another important part of the study that we're undertaking, looking at both technology and siting. And from a technology perspective, evaluating technologies such as anaerobic digestion, open windrow composting, and also in listening to some of the thoughts and comments from the county and others, there were some thoughts about are there limitations on what an anaerobic digestion process could accept or not accept? And looking into that further, just as an example, some of you that are part of or with municipalities that are doing volunteer drop-off centers now, and you have the compostable bags, there are some facilities that may not be equipped to accept those bags and go through the debagging process. And so there are technologies out there that are considered a hybrid type technology, where it's anaerobic digestion, but also allows for composting as part of the overall facility, and that's one of the technologies that we're looking at as well. So the matrix will be developed, and there will be scores assigned depending on the different categories, things like operational requirements, site requirements, utilities, and so on. And that will be used as the basis for recommendations being provided to the county. In addition to the siting matrix, in a similar way, coordinating with the county on potential available property that's owned by the county, but also giving some consideration to the private sector was a conversation we had as well. And in a similar way, again, going through a scoring process for the different sites to get a good sense of sites that might be good candidates and match up with the technology that makes sense for the county. And then that will all culminate into an overall report, of course. I mentioned to you earlier that we're looking forward to listening to thoughts and comments this evening that we can hopefully look to pull together a group in some way that we can include in the report along with recommendations. And the overall intent of that report is really to serve as a real strong planning tool for the county to then move on to the next step after that. A very methodical way to do it, makes a lot of sense, and we're looking forward to completing the report and supporting the county accordingly. Currently, the schedule is calling for the report to be completed by the end of August, I believe, and at that point, we'll be able to report back to the county and others with regards to the findings and the conclusions in that report. That's a summary of what we're undertaking at this point as far as the overall study goes. What I did not mention, and which was in the first slide, Alvaro, if you could just go back to the agenda, and I should mention that to you. We did include for comments and suggestions, if you have any. The county is going to be accepting that until May 16th, and we included the email address on there as well, so you can jot that down, and please feel free to to submit any comments that you have. So with that, I assume I'll turn it back over to the Commissioner, and we'll listen in on any thoughts or comments that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. We'll put that slide, we're going to put the scope of work slide up now, so you could take a look at that, just to refresh in your mind what the actual scope of the work of the project or of the study is going to be. And at the when we're all done, we'll put up the website again. I believe it was DEF-Food Waste Study, so we can put that up. So in case you do not want to speak tonight, or you had some thoughts that come to you later on, you can send us an email. The first speaker is Ann Jaffe Holmes.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Commissioner Kopicki and members of the Westchester County Waste Team. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Federated Conservationists of Westchester County in regard to the study. FCWC applauds the county on undertaking a comprehensive study of waste in our county with particular focus on food. In accordance, the acceleration and compounding of climate change due to human behavior demands that we move away from an economy of extraction and waste to toward an economy that is circular, where there is no waste. This is nature's own design, and we need to re-find our way to nature's design. This requires changes in our county and municipal infrastructure, operations, economy, job market, and lifestyle. Most fundamentally, it will require changes in our consciousness and the daily behavior of us all, collectively and individually. Wasted food that is incinerated is a direct cost to the county and therefore to municipalities and to taxpayers. Insofar as humanly edible food is wasted, it also represents a tragic loss to those who are hungry. Food scraps that are not edible but are turned in or taken to the incinerator represent yet another kind of waste, a loss of valuable resource and nutrients that could be reinvested in our soil and reinvigorate our agriculture and our land. This study is a first step that must put our county firmly on the road to eventual elimination of food waste. A guiding principle in designing the new infrastructure must be minimizing the carbon emissions throughout the entire process of collection, processing, and utilization of the products. We encourage the county to seek to develop localized options for food donation, as well as local processing of food scraps as a basic principle in your design. In the long term, food scraps recycling sites should be located strategically throughout the county, using whatever method or technology is most suited and appropriate for each site. In the short term, FCWC urges the county to, number one, support the rapid education and engagement of the public in this change by establishing at least 2 strategically located food scraps drop-off sites that would be open to any resident in Westchester County. Number 2, to continue to encourage on-site and backyard composting by residents, schools, public institutions, and private companies that have the land to do so. Number 3, to encourage and incentivize the development of on-site food scraps recycling facilities by private entities such as corporations that have large properties where such facilities are practical. And number 4, to encourage and incentivize the development of commercial food scraps recycling operations through private enterprise. The Federated Conservationists of Westchester County is fully committed to supporting the county in every way we can with this move towards a circular economy and an economy that protects our air, water, soil, and land for future generations. We thank you for your dedication and efforts to a healthier future for all of us.
Thank you, Ann. Our next speaker, Braden Cohen.
All right, good evening. Thank you so much for hosting this. My name is Braden Cohen, and I am here tonight to represent Sustainable Materials Management Incorporated. We are Westchester's first and currently only commercial-scale food waste composting facility. It's no shock that I'm here to voice my support for all of this. My message is fairly simple, and it's that composting is a systems thinking solution to waste management and to fight climate change and its environmental impacts. Composting reduces greenhouse gas emissions and physically sequesters it in soil and compost. And the use of compost has the ability to mitigate environmental impacts of climate change. The latest IPCC and UN reports have made it abundantly clear that we need to make rapid, radical, and transformative changes in every aspect of our lives to lessen the full impact of climate change. We know for a fact that climate change is going to result in sea level rises and increased extreme weather events. And Westchester County is a system of river valleys situated between two major bodies of water. We are already experiencing flooding issues, and our vulnerability to these are only going to increase as we experience the impacts of climate change. At Sustainable Materials Management, we understand the urgency in which we need to act as a society, which is why we have taken it upon ourselves to bring private commercial food waste composting to Westchester County. Through our research, I've been in the compost industry for the past 6 years. We've determined that an aerobic compost facility that utilizes forced aeration has the lowest greenhouse gases, minimal investment costs, quickest return on investment, and produces the highest quality compost product that can be used safely in any application. Some of the things that the county could do to encourage residential food waste composting really lies in restructuring the IMA that many 36 out of 42 municipalities take part in. Currently, it is cheaper for them to send their food waste to the to the incinerator than it is to have it composted. The reality of the industry is that it is cheaper for the tipping fees and cost to dispose at compost facilities is less expensive than wheelabrator. There's literally no reason why it should be cheaper for incineration than it is composting. Another thing that the county can do is that it can mandate food scrap source separation for all residents and businesses. Recently, New York State passed some legislation that really fell short of this goal in that it only applies to large producers of commercial food scraps that generate over 2 tons a year, and it has a 25-mile exclusion radius. Effectively, the most populous and food waste producing part of this county would be exempt from having to send their food scraps to our facility. You're missing out on residential and the majority of commercial food waste in the county. I don't want to be an alarmist, but I truly, say this without any exaggeration that, if we continue to ignore our soil health and continue to develop our natural lands that provide us with $17 billion worth of ecosystem services and that are essential to protecting us against the imminent, impending, disastrous effects of climate change, we need to take action today. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. John Rhodes.
Good evening. I'm here representing the Mount Kisco Conservation Council, and I'd like to thank the county for moving forward on this very urgent matter. We know that close to 35% of our waste is food scraps and related materials that's now going to the incinerator. And hopefully this will deal with that problem. Mount Kisco plans to have a food scrap recycling program in place by the end of the year, but like the other towns that have helped us with this, Bedford and Scarsdale, we're still shipping this quite a distance to have it processed, and there's still a significant cost involved. So we'd like to see the county, as you've talked about, have at least one or possibly several drop-off points where the food scrap material could be composted without the significant expenditure of fuel and increasing our carbon footprint. And in addition to this, we'd like to also see that since this is really the first substantial meeting that we've heard of in regards to this, we'd like to see the consultant talk with some of our elected local leaders and also the heads of our DPW and the other DPWs, because if this is going to be successful, it's really going to depend on their cooperation, not only in terms of in making this easy for them to buy into, but also in terms of the public education element, which is so important. And I think basically that's all I have to say. Again, I'd like to thank you for having this effort.
Thank you very much. Apologize for if I mispronounce your last name. Melissa Greco? Greco? Okay.
I'm here representing the Rise Sustainability Committee, and we were integral in launching a food scrap recycling 6-month-long pilot program, which just started on March the 4th. And we have around 300 households currently participating, which represents about 5% of the population. We had to cap it at a certain level for purposes of the pilot. But in just 9 weeks alone, we have diverted 17,650 pounds of heavy wet food scraps from the Peekskill incinerator. And they're getting trucked up to the Ulster, the facility in Ulster. We just did a survey to gauge participants' response so far, and we have a curbside pickup component. We had to cap at 150 households, and then we have drop-off for whoever wants to participate. And we have about 100 or so, actually it's about 150 households doing drop-off. And we send out a survey via SurveyMonkey, and everyone that responded said, 100% of people said they want to see the pilot program become a permanent program once it's scheduled to end on September the 4th. So as some of the previous speakers said, there's a demonstrable need for this, there's an environmental need for this, and we would urge the county to help out with a local facility of whatever kind and some subsidies for the cost of sending the scraps to composting facility versus the incinerator, the tipping fees or whatever. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren Broyce.
Hi, I'm Lauren Broyce, representing Bedford 2020 and the New York chapter of the Climate Reality Project. And I just want to say thank you for having this meeting tonight, and I'm really excited to see what could come from this study. And I also just wanted to mention that this meeting is very appropriately held tonight because this week is International Compost Awareness Week, and woo, yeah. The theme this year is Cool the Climate, Compost. So we all know that composting reduces the amount of organic material sent to the incinerator in Peekskill, and this decreases the amount of methane in the atmosphere. And we also know that adding compost to the soil helps soil sequester carbon, mitigating climate change, and by composting the carbon in the plants is returned to soil. And just as a personal note, we've organized a drop-off point in the town of Bedford for folks to come and drop off their food scraps 3 different times during the week, and I'm often there, and people are really happy to be doing it. They enjoy removing the food scraps from their garbage, and I hope that from this study, the county will develop a countywide program for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Cynthia Roberts.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Roberts, and I'm a resident of Scarsdale. Our family has had the benefit of curbside food scrap pickups, and I can tell you that it has made a significant impact on our contributions to the waste stream. Now we basically put out about 6 to 8 pounds of food scraps every week, and only take out the trash once a week, which is it's a big improvement for us. When our grown kids come home from college and graduate school, they get it immediately. They don't remember how to do the dishes, but they know where to put the scraps. I'm also representing the Community Unitarian Universalist congregation at White Plains. We have a very active environmental group there, and about 10 years ago we decided that rather than using paper and plastic utensils for our coffee hours and our brunches and our evening meals, we would invest in an industrial strength dishwasher and purchase permanent ceramic mugs and plates and real silverware. And it was very successful. We made the initial investment. It has reduced our waste significantly. And interestingly enough, aesthetically, people are much happier to drink coffee out of a ceramic mug than a plastic cup. Now, moving ahead with that, we had the benefit of Michelle Sterling, one of the volunteers from Scarsdale, who's been very active with Ron Schulhoff, come and make a presentation to our congregation last year. She was very well received, and our group started asking about how we could do more to learn about food scrap composting. So we took a field trip, and we went to the Ulster County food scrap facility and learned about how the food scraps are mixed with the yard waste trimmings, and we saw the aeration equipment, which was very low tech, basically a motor and a fan and a pipe with air going through, and we're amazed at how hot the piles got, such that the seagulls that were flying around would not light on the piles, and basically came back thinking, wow, you know, this is something that we should really look into. This year on Earth Day, we went to the Yonkers recycling facility and learned more about recycling all of the commingled and the paper and cardboard. But what everybody came back from, I think, from both outings was that the items that are not put into these recycling bins are burned up at the wheelabrator. And that wheelabrator, while it does produce electricity and steam, it is producing carbon dioxide. It is using natural gas to get the temperatures high enough. And so what we're looking to the county to do is to provide the leadership so that we can stop having our trucks using fossil fuels, driving up and down the county, so that we can take food waste totally out of the waste stream, and so that we can take care of it more locally. Thank you.
Thank you. Nye Wilson? Is that, okay.
MJ Wilson.
Oh, MJ, sorry.
Yeah. Hi, my name is MJ Wilson, and thank you for doing this. It's hugely important. I'm here with several hats, one being I'm a member of the Green Policy Task Force in the Village of Irvington. Also, there are a few others of us in the room who are certified master composters of Westchester County. I think I was the class of 2009. And I also am the Zero Waste Co-Coordinator for the Hudson River Clearwater Festival, and I'm the person who's responsible for all the technical aspects of materials management at the festival. And I really want to confirm the importance of what you guys are doing. It's hugely important to manage our materials and resources wisely and well, and not to squander the organics and not to squander the fossil fuels needed to chauffeur them around the county for nefarious reasons like being burnt. And just a few random comments here is I have found that NYSAR, New York State Association of Reduce, Reuse, and Recycle, have been a vital source of information for those of us who've been on this journey for a number of years now. and they could be good partners as well as good resources. Also, Cornell Waste Management Institute is awesome, and they're available for all various managements, various aspects of materials management, and they're obviously out of Cornell. And I do encourage you, by the way, to find a way to partner up with someone and restart the Master Composter Recycler program for the county. That's been dormant for a number of years now. Actually, I taught the program for one cycle, and we did our away tours. And as a part of the class requirement is we had to go away to the places where things went away to. The MRF, Yonkers Wastewater Treatment Plant, and the Wheelabrator, as well as Stone Barns Composting Facility. And for Clearwater, it is who does not know about the Clearwater Festival? Does anybody not know? Okay. The Clearwater Festival is basically, it's a 2-day public festival, outdoor festival up in Croton Point Park, and it's an environmental event disguised as a music festival. Great music and great environmental awareness and education is offered. And in a collaborative effort, the Zero Waste team manages the materials. And for 2018, we were responsible for wrangling. We are resource wranglers, I've decided. We're responsible for all the materials left by any of the audience attendees, any of the professionals who are there selling, as well as all the musicians and all the volunteers. So last year, we wrangled 1.6 tons of waste that had to be trashed, 2.94 tons of recyclables, and our compostable total was 5.97 tons. So we had a diversion rate of 84%. So, and that's been a concerted effort. I've been doing it since 2010. Toshi Seeger was the one who started it with recycling, litter picking and recycling. And so there's a lot of lessons that have been learned by many people in the county, and you've got I know you've got a great county team. Marianne Petronelli was one of my heroes, and she did some really progressive things, and she really brought a lot of us along. And that's great. Sean is a great asset and a resource, and so I think this is an exciting thing to move forward in another progressive way, and I'm looking forward to finding out what's happening and help in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I could ask Tom and Sean, if there was anybody else that had signed up, if you could, bring it up to me. Thank you. Next speaker, Anna Giordano.
Hi, my name is Anna Giordano. I'm the executive director of We Future Cycle, and we are an organization that specialize on doing recycling programs and source separation programs in schools. So we teach children about the necessity to sort. And we are now in 6 school districts in Westchester County, 33 schools. We're diverting in every single school 95+% into either recycling, composting, or into excess liquid that goes down the drain. So our biggest problems of bringing this to every single district, because superintendents talk to each other. So every superintendent that we are in the district in would love to tell their colleagues about this. But the problem is always the separation between the government and the schools and the waste management system that each school has in place and the costs that are attached to that. So I completely underline what Braden said about that the cost of garbage is so much cheaper than for schools to do composting, that many schools, especially the ones that are socioeconomically in weaker districts, have trouble doing this. Also, the county system of having a twice-a-week garbage pickup, but only in every other week recycling pickup, is actually rewarding garbage and penalizing recycling. So we have to change the whole system. And the system includes that we're rewarding recycling and we're rewarding composting and we're penalizing garbage, because I can share numbers with you. Just today, I started the Hamilton Elementary School in Mount Vernon, the first Mount Vernon school. And we diverted 94% of their garbage into recycling and composting by simply teaching the kids to sort. And that comes hand in hand with the analysis of what is being sent into lunchrooms in terms of single-serve stuff that the kids are getting, like single-serve ketchup pouches and single-serve syrup pouches and all that single-serve stuff that for-profit food service providers are sending into our public schools so that the public can take care of the garbage cost. There is an inherent problem in how we deal with garbage. So I very much support this, and I think the very first steps should be to reward the districts that are going the extra mile to already start this. Because if we start in the schools, and we are giving schools grants to do this, you will have an army of children that have learned how to sort. You will have an army of children that know that this is important, and they bring this home back to mom. This is where we have to start. If you want to do comprehensive education of your population, go through the schools. But for that, it must be financially possible for them to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, sorry if I didn't read your name right, Dan Turner.
Hi, I'm Dan Turner. I'm with the Pleasantville Recycles group, and just quickly want to endorse what you're doing here. We're very excited. We are starting a food scrap program that will begin hopefully this fall. We've gotten initially tremendous enthusiasm behind it. We've gotten great help from the team of Ron and Michelle in Scarsdale. They are just fantastic, what they've been able to do for the community at large and sharing all of their knowledge and information. So we're excited about the program, and we're here to encourage the county to get our own composting facility so that we won't have to take our materials to some place like Ulster or whatever. Pleasantville, in the last 6-7 years, has really gotten behind recycling. We've made great strides in our village. We're very proud of that. We have our Pleasantville Music Festival every year, and we are right there where we are at zero waste, and that is one of our initiatives, and it's actually happening. So again, we encourage you to do what you're doing. We're excited about it, and if we can give that endorsement to go for our own facility, our own composting facility, that'd be marvelous. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mike Siegel, sorry.
Hi, I'm Mike Siegel, Vice Chair of the Town of Greenburgh CAC. The town board has asked us for advice on whether we should implement, as some of our neighboring communities such as Scarsdale has done, curbside pickup of organic waste. And we've been puzzling through this, and we found out about this study, and so we were kind of delighted to have some experts involved. And what we would hope that you could provide us with is, in your study, is an analysis. As we understand it, but we could be wrong, as we understand it, right now, trucks take the organic waste together with the inorganic waste to a facility in Yonkers, and they burn it, and that creates energy. That's our baseline assumption. We'd like to know if that's true or not. That is true. That's right. Okay. Now,
Well, not the organic waste.
the organic waste is not part of what is being burned.
Right, Mario? No. Right. Correct, if it's mixed with the garbage.
If it's mixed in the garbage,
But if
it
it's
is
straight
in-
organic waste, that's
and then
not
it's
so-
burned, and it burns and creates energy. Now, is that correct?
I didn't see who's that.
At Peekskill?
Peeksville.
So it's taking the Peekskill and
I
the,
didn't hear what he said.
the
Sorry.
non-segregated organic waste creates energy. It's burning, creates energy. What we would hope in your study is to give us an analysis that explains to us if we have curbside pickup, fossil fuel burning trucks, presumably are going to pick it up unless there's some kind of higher tech trucks, which are more expensive. Those fossil fuel trucks are going to take it to a facility that uses energy, fossil fuel, probably fossil fuel generated energy to convert the segregated organic waste into something. And then trucks, again using fossil fuel, are going to take that product of the conversion of the segregated organic waste and take it someplace. What we would hope your study would help us, and what we've been puzzling through, is what is the net environmental advantage of something that is now being used already to create energy, diverting that, using essentially a fossil fuel transportation, manufacture, and then retransportation system, how this all plays out. And frankly, we've thought about these issues at the CAC, and this is beyond us. So we were delighted to find out about your study. I mean, we obviously are instinctively and very much in favor of the curbside pickup, but before we felt we could advise the town board based on some kind of analysis, which was beyond us, and we found out about your group, we hope that you would give us kind of an analysis of the two different systems. Now, presumably, there, as one of the speakers, I think from Scarsdale earlier said, presumably you'll have less fossil fuel burning trucks picking up waste of the inorganic type because there'll be so much organic waste, and so that'll be a net savings on that. But presumably there are studies or analysis that you have access to or that you could develop so that we could have a kind of a basis to advise our town board. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't recognize Legislator Parker in the back. I'm sorry if I missed you. And our last speaker of the night is Legislator Mary Jane Chomsky.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad that the study is moving forward, and this is obviously the next big step in getting rid of our waste in an environmentally responsible way. That being said, given where we are, there are a number of questions and a number of considerations that I think should be addressed in the study. At this point, I'm not saying that anything definitely should be done or should not be done, except for one or two items I'll mention, but we need to consider what all the alternatives are, what the carbon footprint of each is, and what the end results are for all of them. First of all, I think that minimizing the amount of transportation involved is a must. We don't want to increase, this is a great chance to actually decrease carbon footprint, and we should definitely treat it as such. I think that doing one size fits all might or might not work. Composting works where you have room. It should work in a great number of our municipalities. We have to think harder about that when we're talking about our more densely populated communities and our high-density housing. That may be a situation where, for example, anaerobic digesting might be more appropriate. But as I said, we should not necessarily look at it as a one-size-fits-all. We should look and see what for each community might be the most efficient and the most environmentally sound way of dealing with it within the context of that particular community. I think also something to keep in mind is, especially when we're dealing with such a diversity of communities, we should keep in mind that it may be that we may need transitional methods in certain places. We should not feel wedded to doing a particular method in a particular community long term. We should think about whether or not things may change over time. It may make sense to do one thing and then transition into composting, or in some places we may choose to transition into something else. Fourth of all, I think if we are going to be if we are going to be transporting by some form of internal combustion engine food waste in a community, I think in order to raise compliance, curbside pickup is going to have to be a must, because there are hundreds of thousands of people in Westchester County who do not drive. And the kind of system that we have now works great for people with cars. It also works great for people who are not single parents who are working 2 and 3 jobs to keep food on the table for their kids. We are going to have to go to curbside recycling if we're going to do that kind of program. One of the methods that I think we should be looking at, in addition to pick up and compost, we should be looking at anaerobic digesting. It may be that in certain parts, as I said, of the county, that may be the best way to deal with the waste. We could then take that gas and use it to heat buildings or facilities. For example, some of you may have heard me say this before, Chris Crane, our environmental counsel at the BOL, and I took a tour of Albany County Airport about 1.5 years ago. They actually collect their, some of their, I forget what they call it, what they use to spray the jets in the winter, de-icing fluid. They take the de-icing fluid and they run it through an anaerobic digester. It takes up maybe 1/4 to 1/2 an acre on the site. And they use that to heat up 2 of the main buildings in the airport. Something like that, especially our more densely populated areas, may make a certain amount of sense. I've moved to a high-density apartment complex where we now have garbage disposals in our sinks. I actually never lived with one before. But that all gets sent down, for example, in my case in Dobbs Ferry, to the Yonkers wastewater treatment plant. If our wastewater treatment plants are more completely converted to waste-to-energy generators, the anaerobic digesters, to run the plant, the environmental calculation should be made on whether it makes sense to have people install trash compactors, at least in certain communities or in certain types of housing developments. And that would then help run our wastewater treatment plants, and it would reduce our reliance on more traditionally generated electricity from Con Ed. As I said, it will be interesting to see the numbers run and see the math and listen to community by community what is the best way to move forward to make true food waste recycling a real thing very, very soon. But we should definitely scope out all of the alternatives, see all the math, And keep in mind that what we do from place to place or time to time might be different, and we should open ourselves up to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Legislator. I'm sorry, you have? Sure. I'm sorry, your name? Lori Fontana. Okay, sure. Is that okay? Yes.
I was a little late. I was making dinner for my kid. So just to make the drive worthwhile. I have some prepared remarks because I'm the vice chair of the City of Rye Conservation Commission Advisory Council, but I'm here on behalf of my chair, Tracy Stora, who could not be here tonight. We did want you to know that CCAC supports a comprehensive food waste program in Westchester County. So thank you for giving us this, all of the citizens of the county, this opportunity to speak about two issues. I came in a little late, so I didn't hear the other part too much, but it's not just food waste, it's also food insecurity. And I know from my colleagues, I don't know if anybody knows Elizabeth Radau, she's at Manhattanville College, that even though this is a very wealthy county, there's actually a fairly high level of food insecurity. So this is not a de minimis issue, even in Westchester. So I hope that the proposed program will do as much as possible to divert food to people who need it rather than to landfills or even to compost or to energy, because the highest, best use of food is to feed people. The main reason, though, I wanted to speak to you tonight is I wanted to share my experience with this food scrap thing. And I'm in the city of Rye. I am one of the people who's in the curbside pilot program, which is great. All I have to do is walk it down to the end of my curb, and they pick it up. So if you guys want to have any specific insights, interview anybody who's been through this process. There's lots of people in Rye who are willing to show you, like, dealing with varmints, dealing with winter pickup, dealing, this bag versus that bag and all that kind of stuff. We're experts at it now. But here's really the reason I've decided to throw on a dress tonight and come out and talk to you. I have a kind of unusual experience. Some people in the audience have already heard this before, but I was born and raised in the city of Philadelphia, not in Rye. And in Philly, we did food scrap recycling for decades. I grew up with a garbage can, that my mom took out food scraps. It was normal. Her mom did it. So we're talking during the war, right? This is just what people did. This was not special. We didn't have fancy bags. We didn't have little countertop things. We had a little silver garbage can. And it was our job as the kids to take the garbage out. And the city had a program where it was on a regular schedule. We had trash pickup one day, and we had garbage pickup the other day. Everybody in Philadelphia did this. Working class, middle class. I don't know about Society Hill, but everybody did this. And the city made money. This is the deal. They actually resold this product to the farmers, is what I'm heard, pig farmers. We don't do that so much anymore, but they didn't lose money, they made money. This was a whole system. And the reason why this worked is because it was scale. Right now we're doing this sort of city by city, town by town, village by village, until we get airborne. Like I heard the legislator say, there's going to be individual plans, but it's really a scale kind of thing, and it's an infrastructure thing. So we have to rebuild the entire system to make this work, to make it profitable, to make it so that we're not wasting more trips, like a couple of people have said, but it's really rethinking the entire thing. We don't want to waste it. We're already wasting too much food to begin with. So we want to feed people first, then we want to do these other things. So it's really looking at the entire food system, not just the food waste system, and saying, we're going to do this differently in Westchester. And I'm just here to tell you, as a native Philadelphian, that you can do this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been, again, thank you everyone for your comments. I'm sorry. Okay, we can maybe talk afterwards. No, we're really looking at, in this study, food waste, not the food insecurity. That would be more of a municipality and private, concern. But I want to thank everybody for their comments. I applaud all the municipalities who are taking this on themselves. This study is to look at more of a global Westchester County issue than more of a Scarsdale or Rye, smaller municipality, looking at it as a whole. So again, thank you very much. Do you have a...
Into the municipalities that are currently collecting food waste?
We have a stakeholders group that is, part of putting this together, the study together, and we have the members of that committee are DPW commissioners from different municipalities. Not all the municipalities, but all the municipalities that are, or quite a few of the municipalities that are represented in our waste district. So we are not looking at this with blinders on. We're talking to a lot of different people. We've interviewed some people from Scarsdale setting up the program. We're interviewing large commercial facilities. So we're looking at this, globally. So we're trying to get all the information we can to come up with a comprehensive study that what is the best solution for Westchester County. It might not be the same solution for Ulster County or for Rockland County, but what's for Westchester County specifically, what is the best solution for us? So again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. Thank you for the comments, and we look forward to incorporating that into our report. Thank you.